Well, good afternoon, guys. This is Brian, the old Piedmont gardener. Glad to have you back with us today. We got some foul weather outside, so we're going to be in the kitchen, and we're going to make us up a big batch of muscadine jelly. To make muscadine jelly is going to be muscadines. I've got some muscadines right here that Michelle has picked off of our plants out in the garden. Now these muscadines, like I said, they come off our plants out in the garden. Our plants are not very established. They've been in the ground 3 or 4 years. So she went out over the summer and picked them, and we put them in the freezer till we could do something with them. Now the first thing we got to do with these muscadines is get the juice out of them. That's how we're going to make our jelly. We've got to separate the juice from the seeds and the pulp and the skin. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to put them in a pot. We're going to add a little water, and we're going to boil them up. We'll probably boil them for a few minutes, and then we'll give them a little mash, and then we'll drain the juice. Now, as you can see, my muscadines have already got some water in them, and the reason that they do is because I froze them. When you freeze them, the freezing process, of course, it splits them open, it breaks down the cell structure, and causes them to already start to release their juice. But to this, we're going to add some water. I want about 1/3 of the whole mixture, everything in the pot, 1/3 of it being liquid, so that we can boil them down and get the juice out of them. So let's get some water in the pot. I'm just going to take some cool water, and I'm going to run in here till the water's about up to the same level as the muscadine. I think that'll be just about the right amount of liquid. Let's get them on the stove. So I'm going to turn them on high to get started. And then if they get too carried away, we'll dial them back just a little bit. I don't need a raging boil. I just need to cook them down enough to where they'll release all their juices. We'll put the lid on them, make them come to a boil a little bit faster. So while we're waiting on these things to come up to a boil, let's look at some of the other items that we might need. I put my jelly in these little jars, these little pint jars. That works good for us, and it's you could use the smaller ones. I think those are real cute, but I put mine in pint jars. That's what I've always used, and so just a pint ball or mason jar is ideal to put your jelly in. You're also going to need, I call these flats or cannon lids. You're going to need some of these, along with the ring that holds this on. So we're going to have those items. So I'm going to need a strainer. You could use a jelly bag. I'm just going to use this fine mesh strainer, and that will keep most of the large pieces, the hulls, seeds and stems, whatever that's in the pot that we don't want in the jelly. This is going to take them out. I'm going to set this inside this metal strainer, and the reason I do that is, well, it gives me a little better handle, and this is going to be hot, so we want to make sure that we don't burn ourselves. So I'm going to set it inside here, and this will go inside my bowl or my container, whatever I want to collect the juice in, whatever you want to collect the juice in. You need to put your strainer inside of that, and when this gets ready, we're going to put it in here. Alright guys, so our muscadines have come to a boil. And I'm going to take this potato masher and I'm going to mash them up a little bit in the pot, get some of the juices flowing. Man, they smelling pretty good. Well, they're pretty good. They're starting to soften up. They've not cooked all the way through yet, so we'll give them a little bit more time. I don't want to waste none of this. This right here will help mash them up. Y'all just be careful when you do this. That's boiling water. You don't want to go too deep. Alright, we got them mashed up pretty good. I'm going to put the lid back on them. Let them cook for a few more minutes. Alright, let's check on them and see what they're doing. Oh yeah, they're cooking up nicely. Alright. Mash them a little more. I think they're just about where we need them. Now, as you can see, they've cooked up pretty good. And what I tried to do, I tried to bust every one of those muscadines with this potato masher. And that way all the juices, we can get all the juice that we possibly can. We don't want to waste nothing. Now the next step is to strain them off. Like I told you before, I've got my colander inside my bowl. Got my finer mesh strainer inside my colander. I hope they fit. Now y'all be careful when you do this. Make sure you pour it away from you. Ooh, be careful, it'll splatter. That is hot. Got lucky on that one. Now this is real easy to do, but it takes a little patience. The next step, we're gonna wait for this to drain. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna let it drain for a few minutes in this bowl, and then I'll set this colander back on top of the pot and get the last little bit of the pot. We'll combine them, and then we'll have our juice. All right, guys. Well, I've waited about as long as I want to. We're going to go ahead and take a look and see what we've got. Now you can see that those muscadines start to dry out. They've reduced greatly. A lot of the juice is drained out of them. I don't want to mash them because I don't want to push any pulp or anything like that down into my juice, but I moved them around a little bit and they've drained pretty good. And now if I was more patient, I could wait. I could set this in the refrigerator and let it drain overnight, and we'd probably get another quarter to a half cup. But we're going to go ahead and go with what we got, and the chickens will get the rest of this. We got some juice in here. We're going to transfer it over. I'm going to wash this pot. We'll be right back. Alright guys, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to measure out our juice. I've got me a measuring cup here, and I'm going to ladle the juice into the measuring cup, and then I'm going to put it in the pot. That way we'll know how much juice we got exactly. Now I don't know if y'all noticed or not, but when I was pouring this juice into the pot, or into this bowl out of the pot, it looked like a couple seeds had jumped the fence on the strainer. So I've got a few seeds in there, so as I pour it into my pot to get ready to cook it down, I'm going to use another strainer to make sure I catch those seeds. Nobody wants that in their biscuit. That's 1 quart. Now I'm going to finish ladling this up, get it in the pot, and then I'll show you what we're going to do from there. Number 2. Alright, so we ended up with about 10.5 cups of juice. Now, there's a couple different ways that we can proceed from here. You could use fruit pectin or shear gel, follow directions on the package, and you put your shear gel in here and then heat your juice up, add your sugar, put it in the jars. I've done that lots of times. Today, I don't have any shear gel. So what I'm going to do is use an old-fashioned method. The way they used to make jelly. I'm going to put 1 cup of sugar for every cup of juice, an even amount. And we're going to bring that up to temperature. We're going to try to get it to 220 degrees, and we're going to test it periodically. It's going to be a little bit of a long cooking process, but what we'll do, we'll put a spoon in it, and I'll show you. And once it sheets on the spoon and doesn't run off the spoon, then we know that it'll set when it cools. So let me grab some sugar and we'll get it in the pot. Alright, so we got our juice in the pot. I'm going to turn it up on high and get it started. Now, I'll probably dial it back just a little bit. I'm going to grab some lemon juice out of the refrigerator. We're going to add about a teaspoon of lemon juice for each quart of muscadine juice that we've got here, just to add just a little bit of acid. Now, fresh lemon juice would always be better, but I've got some in a jar, and that's what I'm going to use. We got our eye up on high. I'm going to stir that lemon juice in, and I'm going to put a lid on this and let it come up to temperature. So our juice has come up to temperature. It's boiling pretty good, so we're going to add in the sugar. Now, I pre-measured out my 10.5 cups of sugar to make it a little easier and speed things along. So let's get it in there. I'm going to put about half of it in, and I'm going to stir it around. I'm going to make sure it don't stick on the bottom. That's melting pretty fast. That's what we want. Alright, so we got our sugar in the pot. We got it stirred in good. The next step, we're going to reduce the temperature. I'm going to go medium, between medium and medium high. I don't want it to scorch to the bottom. We're going to stir occasionally, and we're going to start to reduce the mixture. We're going to let some of the liquid evaporate and let the sugar and the juice, everything do its magic. And we'll come back and test it in just a little bit, see if it'll sheet the spoon, and then we'll go from there. So we got our spoon in here, we're stirring. You can see that it's come up and went down, back and forth. You have to play with the heat a little bit. So I'm going to get a little bit of the liquid on the spoon, just like that right there. And you can see that it's hot and it's running around everywhere, and I'm going to let it cool for just a minute. So we're going to set it over here on the trivet and let it cool. Alright guys, let's take a look at what we got here. We've let it cool down just a little bit, and you can see that the liquid is no longer liquid. If we take our finger and we come right across through there, you can see that it cuts a line, and that line is staying there. it's pretty predominant. That's telling me that our jelly's ready to go in the jar. So we got our jar. Now what I did, I put my jars, you can put them in boiling water and sanitize them that way. What I did, I just put mine in the dishwasher and put it on sanitizer, and that way it scalds about real good, and you know that there's nothing in there that's going to harm your jelly. We got our funnel. We'll place it in the jar. And we're going to gently, very carefully, ladle our mixture into the jar. So we got it in the jar. Next step, we're going to take I've got a moistened paper towel here. I'm going to make sure that there's nothing on this rim that's going to prevent it from sealing. Ooh, and that's hot, so be careful. Alright, we got our rim wiped off good and clean. We're going to take us a lid, put it right on top, tighten it down. Not too tight, just finger tight is what they say. Just what you can do with the tips of your fingers. Alright guys, well I'm going to get the rest of these jarred up, and I'm going to take mine and I'm going to do a water bath so that I can store them long term. If you're just going to, if you're going to set it in the refrigerator, you've went as far as you need to go. But I'm not going through the water bath process. We'll do that in a different video, but what we're going to do, we're going to water bath these, get them to seal, and to be honest with you, they're probably going to seal before I get them in the water bath canner, but we'll run them through that process just to sanitize them for long-term storage. Alright guys, so there you go. We ended up with 8 jars of jelly out of that batch, and I'm going to let it cool off. As it cools, it's going to set. We hope it sets anyway. Sometimes things happen and beyond your control, and it doesn't set. And then you've got grape syrup, but that goes good on a lot of things. So, but we're going to let this set, let it cool off overnight, and then we're going to put it on the shelf, label it, get it put on the shelf, and get ready for December. Cold winter morning, hot biscuit. So anyway, I appreciate y'all hanging out with us today. Until next time, this is Brian, Piedmont Gardener. Y'all have a good day. Alright guys, next morning, set for a while. Let's see what we've got.